Welcome to this video on friction. I am Dr.L.Elvina Mary, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Mathematics at Nirmala College for Women, Coimbatore. This module, let us study about friction. At the end of this video, you would have gained knowledge on force, types of forces, friction, and the role of friction. Force governs everything. Starting from the tiny atomic structure to the universe as a large. Before exploring how force plays a major role in the formation of atomic structure and solar system, let us see how it is used in our day-to-day activities like opening a door, dragging a chair, chopping a vegetable. All these activities are categorized into two things, namely pushing or pulling. So, what is a force? Force can be described as a push or a pull on an object. Next, we will learn about the types of forces. Forces are of two types, contact force and non-contact force. Contact force occurs when the bodies are physically attached. Non-contact force occurs when the bodies are not physically attached. Under contact force, we have applied force, spring force, frictional force, and drag force. Under non-contact force, we have magnetic force, electrostatic force, and gravitational force. Now, let us see what is frictional force. As mentioned earlier, we know frictional force is a contact force. So, it is a force which occurs when two bodies are in contact. In this figure, a body is placed on the floor. We can see a number of forces acting on the body. First, let us concentrate in the forces which is in the vertical direction. There are two forces in the vertical direction. One is the weight of the object which is acting vertically downwards, and this is called as action. To oppose this, we have a force which is acting vertically upwards, which we will call it as reaction. According to Newton's law, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. The force applied by the person is called the applied force. Here, the man tries to push the object. He can feel a resisting force which is acting in the opposite direction. This resisting force is due to the roughness at the point of contact. To understand it clearly, we can see this diagram. The upper part represents the object, the lower part the floor. The white portion shows the roughness at the point of contact. This roughness creates the resisting force, and this resisting force is called the frictional force. And this frictional force prevents the body from moving to a certain extent. So, if two bodies are in contact with one another, the property of the two bodies by means of which a force is exerted between them at their point of contact to prevent one body from sliding on the other is called friction. The force exerted is called the force of friction. Now, let us see the role of friction. There are few places where we have to maximize the friction. In handbrakes, we have to maximize the friction. While holding an object, we have to maximize the friction. There are places where we have to minimize the friction. In gears, we have to minimize the friction. This can be done by applying the lubricant. While playing carom board, we have to minimize the friction. This can be done by applying the powder on the board. Now, let us see the factors that affect the friction. The first one is the irregularities or roughness on the surface. The roughness on the surface increases the friction. The second factor is the regularity of a surface or its smoothness. Here the friction is reduced due to the smoothness of the body. Since the body is smooth, it does not mean that there is no friction. In universe, all bodies are rough to a certain extent. So, even if it is a smooth body, there is a friction and it will be minimum. When two bodies are pressed hard, the contact force increases, and in that case, the friction also increases. So these are the three factors that affects the friction. Now, let us see how friction plays a role in automation. When we design a robot to handle fragile objects, we should be careful with the amount of force that has to be supplied on the object by the gripper, which when maximum will collapse the entire activity. So likewise, we have lot of places where we use this frictional force. From this module, we understood that friction force plays an important role in all our daily activities. Thank you for watching this video.